Officially week one of college football season. Ray and Ron, the sports betting brothers, coming back here for you. Excited to get going with a somewhat normal podcast.
Yeah, looking to build off that preseason preview.
Just a shout out here. We are now officially on iTunes. Just search Sports Betting Brothers on iTunes. Subscribe to us.
If you search sports gambling on iTunes, I think we're a top 5.
Sports betting, sports gambling, all those things. We're one of the first podcasts to actually come up there, which is good for just for the first week here.
Yeah, and hey, we're working on some editing stuff. We do this all in one take. So we'd like to clean it up a little bit, add in some plugs. So
yeah, we're big one take guys.
Yeah,
one take. College football week one here. Some exciting games on the slate. Alabama, Florida State, in Atlanta. Alabama preseason number 1 in the coaches poll. The Seminoles number 3, not too far behind. This winner, especially if it's the Crimson Tide, really going to position themselves to take an early lead here in the driver's seat in the race for a playoff.
Regardless of what happens to both these teams in the regular season, I think they're both top 5 teams.
100% agree with that. Both solid on both sides of the football. Should be a fun game to watch. Personally, I'd stay away from it from a betting standpoint.
I don't think you go against Nick Saban week one. I think he does the best at preparing his team. If I had to bet it, if you put a gun to my head, I'm probably taking Bama.
I think the line's 7 or 7.5 right now.
Alabama's like the Patriots, man. Like you either bet them or you don't. You're not going to go against them.
Another interesting game on the slate here is Florida versus Michigan on Saturday.
I'll be touching more on this game later. It's an official.
It really is a great game on paper. The name value, the matchup itself is an interesting one. Jim Harbaugh in his 3rd year at Michigan, Florida, 2-time defending champions of the SEC East. That alone kind of gives me gives it the number 2 spot on this list for me. Do you think it's going to be a good game? Maybe. Depends if you like 17-13 scores. Interesting to note, though, there's been some more suspensions from the Florida team. 2 more players today. I believe a freshman wide receiver and also the running back that I was so high on during the show, the Scarlet kid, suspended from this game. So maybe that could impact it a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll touch on that later.
A&M, UCLA.
Sunday game. 2 coaches on the hot seat. Absolutely.
Sumlin and Jim Mora. You got to think the winner of this game kind of cools his seat a little bit. Who needs that season opening win more? The Aggies or the Bruins?
I would think A&M. Maybe they could challenge Alabama.
I spoke on the opening podcast. I'm big on the Bruins this year, or bigger than maybe most people are. I just think a healthy Josh Rosen is the answer there to some of their problems.
Bold prediction: he's the first quarterback off the board next year's draft.
Is that bold, though? I don't know if that's a bold prediction.
People like the USC. I like Darnold.
You do not like Darnold, do you?
Nah, looking at some tape, he's very similar to Blake Bortles.
Ron, scouting the tape early.
His exit is just not good. His mechanics, not good.
Wow. Ohio State at Indiana. For me, I don't know if it's necessarily a big game, but it's a Thursday night game. And the reason I like this is a couple storylines for me.
I'll be touching on this game as well as an official pick.
Ohio State, new offense under co-coordinator Kevin Wilson. From Indiana, where he spent the previous 6 seasons before he was fired in December over allegations of player mistreatment. A young Mike Leach over there.
Good.
So the question really isn't whether Ohio State will win, but how will the Buckeyes look, in my opinion. But want to get here to some actual plays or leans. Just a reminder, week 1 can be tough. You don't know.
I feel a little more confident
week
1 with NFL than I do college football.
I would agree with that. So take that with a grain of salt. Take it for what it's worth.
There's going to be 18, potentially 17-year-old kids on the field.
First game I want to take a look at here is Wyoming, plus 11.5 at Iowa on Saturday at noon. To me, this is all about good quarterback play. A good quarterback play can really go a long way for making up for a talent gap. That's Josh Allen, the Wyoming QB. He's one of the top QB prospects in the 2018 NFL Draft. He's coming off a season of over 3,700 yards of total offense and 35 total touchdowns. He can run a little bit. He's athletic. And I think he's going to take advantage of an Iowa defense that has their top corner out for the first game due to suspension. Last year, this Iowa team was prone to giving up big plays, and I could see Allen shredding up that secondary with him gone.
And Iowa, they did end the season on a bad note. They lost 30-3 to Florida in their bowl game.
On an offensive side of the ball, Iowa sophomore Nathan Stanley actually earned the job to start under center with this task of breathing life into an offense, that finished 12th in the Big Ten last season with 5.2 yards per play. Their head coach, though, I found this quote to be a little bit interesting. He may have subconsciously provided us a glimpse into that season opener against Wyoming. He said in one of his press conferences recently, I'm still trying to figure out who scheduled that one in reference to Wyoming.
Bulletin board material.
So
you know they have that printed out.
Personally, give me Wyoming plus 11.5 as a strong lean.
Yeah, I think it comes down
opener.
to Iowa's going to come out. They're going to try and run the ball, and they're going to play defense. Can Wyoming stop them? I think that's the tell of the tape right there.
100% agree. Ron, what do you got for us?
We talked. I'll go in chronological order here. Is that game a Thursday game?
This is a Saturday at noon game.
I'm going to give you a Thursday pick. Hopefully, you listen before Thursday. If not, I might sound like an idiot. But we're going. We talked about it earlier. Ohio State at Indiana Thursday night. Indiana getting 20.5 points. I would preferably like 21.5, and that is my pick. It is Indiana.
I wonder if it will get bet up to that by the game time. Just
I think so. My buddy texted me one night. He was drunk. He's like, I put $20 on Ohio State, and I'm like, dude, that's great value. It's only going to go up. It hasn't. Yeah. It's still sitting there at 20.5. Last year when these two met in at Ohio State, Indiana held Ohio State to 93 passing yards.
Wow.
Yeah. Who does Ohio State have on the schedule next week? Week 2.
Big game.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Right. Great look ahead spot. Rich Legault will be taking the snaps for the Hoosiers. Last year, 19 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. I think he needs to cut back on those interceptions. And I think he was a JUCO transfer. So he's only going to get better. Didn't watch many Indiana games last year. Looked really good against Penn State.
They played Big Ten teams tough, especially some of the bigger teams, which is just something to note.
They had a lot of close losses last year. This is a team that averaged 27.2 points per game last year. When I saw that, wow. Last year it was a 21-point win by Ohio State. Once again, that was at the Horseshoe. Some trends for you: OSU 2-6 ATS in their last 8 games in the conference. But overall, like I said, I like Indiana because they were very close to having 8 wins last year, and they're not going to win. It'd be chaos if they did.
Absolutely, especially with the expectations
at home.
Ohio State has.
I think this just is a ton of points in a conference game early in the year, week 1 with a look ahead.
Right.
I think I'm going to take the chance with Indiana. Maybe buy it up to 21.5.
Especially since we've been doing this for a while now. All these people who are looking to gamble, they don't really know what they're doing.
They're taking
Ohio State. That might get us to get some a sharp play on
action,
on Indiana, maybe getting little over 3 touchdowns if we can get that bet up.
Absolutely.
Sticking in the Big Ten at least a little bit here, Maryland. Okay.
Team on the rise, in my opinion. I think they're going to be decent in a couple years.
Keyword there, in a couple years, because they're visiting number 23 Texas, also at noon on Saturday. Line right now, I've seen it around a little bit, 17.5. I've seen it 18 in some places too. But this is the start of the Tom Herman era in Austin on Saturday. Biggest hire in the offseason, the former Houston head coach and actual former Ohio State offensive coordinator. He's taking over a very talented team. Obviously, with some holes to fill, but he seems like the guy that could take this team to the next level, and the level that it, quite frankly, should be at. Those Texas boosters are pretty tough to please. Looking at the other side here in College Park, former Michigan defensive coordinator DJ Durkin entered his 2nd season at Maryland.
Good recruiter.
Tons of questions starting at quarterback. They did go 6-7 in his first season. Lost to Boston College in the Quick Lane Bowl. Ron,
good bowl.
Yeah, great bowl. But they lost by more than 20 points in 3 of their last 4 games. Lost to BC, so they didn't really have much momentum at the end of the year. But looking at Texas, because this game for me is about Texas. Shane Buechele talked about him a little bit on the preview podcast. Starting at quarterback for Texas, threw for almost 3,000 yards with 21 TDs last year. It really wasn't their offense that was the problem. They averaged, almost 32 points a game last year and almost 240 yards on the ground. I expect that to continue. For me, the turnaround this year has to be with their defense. They have 10 starters returning. Herman's really been focusing on that side of the ball. He actually named 4 captains this season and 4 play on defense.
Wow.
Just a little nugget for you.
Yeah.
Trends, because our listeners love trends here. Ron, I know you're a big trends guy.
Big trends guy.
The Terrapins are 1-4 ATS in their last 5 non-conference games, 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 road games, 1-5 ATS in their last 6 games overall. Longhorns 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 home games. I think Texas wins by at least 3 touchdowns at home. This Maryland team last year let up about 425 yards defensively. They were last in the Big Ten with 12 takeaways. Let's let the Herman era begin here with a big win against the Terrapins.
Yeah, and my latest memory of Texas was them putting on a show week 1 last year against Notre Dame.
Just unfucking believable.
So
unbelievable.
Hopefully their week 1 bangs will come back.
What do you got?
Gonna stay in the Big Ten again, sort of. Michigan -4 against Florida at Jerry World. We talked about Michigan. 4 starters on offense, 1 on defense. Okay? Malik Zaire and Felipe Franks battling out the quarterback job. I think Felipe Franks is going to get the first couple of series. No doubt Malik Zaire will play. He could be the difference maker. He is electric.
Where do you go to?
I don't know
where do you get his undergrad at? I think it was the Irish. Yeah,
great degree. And we talked about Iowa's showing in their bowl game. It was against Florida. Florida beat them 30-3. Here's my thing. Okay, Florida's going to play defense. They're going to run the ball. Is this Michigan team returning 5 starters? I don't think they can be better than what Iowa put on the field last year. And and Michigan's going to do the exact same thing Iowa tried to do, run the ball. They're not going to be able to. Florida is always very sound on defense. And, they put up 30 points on an Iowa defense, a Big Ten defense. It's pretty good. I didn't dig into it too much, but that screams to me money line. I don't understand how Michigan is favored. They're a top 10 team. I don't buy it. This is a thing where people see, they're going to look at the games, they're going to see Michigan, number 11 next to their name, and they're only favored by a field goal and a point. They're going to take Michigan. And I think it's another great spot to take Florida. Despite the suspensions, I think they find a way to get it done. Should be represented, more than Michigan at that game. Trends, Florida 5-2 ATS against their last 7 Big Ten opponents.
Interesting. I'm down on Michigan this year too.
Absolutely.
To update the suspension thing, we were talking about this before the show. They actually suspended 2 more players today, Wednesday. The running back who I love, the Scarlet kid, and a freshman wide receiver. I can't remember his name right now, but they have some other electric players on offense.
I don't know when Luke Del Rio comes back, but he might join the mix too. He had shoulder surgery. How often do you see a quarterback have shoulder surgery?
To me, they have 3 capable quarterbacks on the roster at Florida, and as long as they take care of the football and get the ball to some of those playmakers that they still have, I agree with you. I think people are going to bet Michigan here just based on some of the things that you say.
Great teaser opportunity to get them over a touchdown and a field goal.
I actually really, really like that. I actually really like that play. For me, the last game I want to just talk about here is Washington. The Washington Huskies going to Rutgers, or as we like to call it here on the show, Ron, Slutgers. Friday at 8 o'clock. Washington is one of those teams that last year got a lot of hype preseason, and they're going to get a lot of hype this season. They do have some talent. They got their feet wet a year ago in the college football playoffs. They have a top-notch coach. Who knows where this program can go? I don't think there's any enthusiasm for Rutgers. They got a new coach, but obviously no talent there in New Jersey, at least where it needs to be for them to compete in the Big Ten. They're just hoping to build a solid foundation this year.
Not embarrass themselves.
Washington returns 7 on offense, including one of my favorite players and a Heisman pick for me, and Jake Browning. 2 great running backs. Probably the best offensive line in the Pac-12. The Myles Gaskin at running back. I think he's going to run wild.
He's a good player, man. He's really good.
6 on defense, including 4 of their 5 top tacklers, like I said on the preview podcast. The best chance Slutgers has against Washington is to try to pound away at the Huskies, using that experienced offensive line and running backs. I just don't see it happening because I don't think they stop Browning in the offense, meaning they're going to be down big after the first quarter, and running the football's not going to happen. Right. One of the things that we talk about a lot, and I want to mention, is the cross-country travel. Like, Washington's going across the country, but to me, in week 1, that doesn't matter to me, personally. You're not in the grind of a season yet. Like, you're going to be there early. You're going to be excited, ready to go. You're going to want to put on a show, especially after losing to Bama. in the playoff. Like I don't think that matters. So I think they win big.
What is the number?
I believe it is. It was changed a lot. I believe it's right around 30. Let me double check. 27.5. Excuse me, 27.5. So I love that. I think they win by 35.
I'd be interested to see the halftime line.
That was
under 2 touchdowns. I take it, but I doubt it's probably 14.
That was something that when I was reading a little bit.
Great opportunity.
They said if it's like a 2-touchdown game at halftime, that they feel like that could be an opportunity to get a good line in the second half, like a minus 11, 12, 13 line in the second half, because Peterson's going to be on their ass and be like, you better pick it up.
Right.
Like, you better show up and want to play, and they could come out in the second half. So I actually think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, no doubt. Last pick from me. Talked about this team in the podcast, too. You're seeing trends here. Houston, minus 11 at UTSA. I'm going to take UTSA plus 11 points. Tom Herman, gone from Houston. They get transfer Kyle Allen from A&M, who, transfer from A&M. I don't think he's, whatever. He's an average quarterback at best. Houston will have a decent offense. UTSA, my team of the year.
Wow.
Just kidding. Dalton Strum back under center after 2,100 yards, 21 touchdowns. Jalen Rhodes, their running back, averaged 5.3 yards per carry last year, which is very impressive. They returned 16 touchdowns from their trio of wide receivers. Bottom line, this team can score. Getting 11 points, I think you take it. UTSA is 5-1 ATS their last 6 home games. I think this UTSA team is a team you cannot sleep on, and I think they might be able to challenge Houston as like this next, Houston's this next up and coming team from Texas, whatever. Don't sleep on UTSA. New coach, new quarterback under center, on the road, week 1, UTSA.
And I don't, maybe I'm crossing a line here, but is Houston a bit deflated with everything too that's like going on in Houston?
Yeah, no.
Does that play a role at all? I don't know.
True. Yeah, I don't know what that'd be a good thing to look into.
I'm always curious too to see how teams respond after losing a big time coach, like Temple with Matt Rule, Herman and Houston. I'm always curious to see how those teams respond after losing a big time coach. To see what they do. Are they the same type of team, same type of product on the field? Like that's always something that I'm anxious to see. If I remember, didn't you say UTSA? Like, didn't you have them as an over for
over
their wins?
6.5? Where they're going to win a minimum 7 games. I guarantee it.
And this, playing Houston tough, here could bode well for some momentum.
If you got some money to throw around, I would consider UTSA money line. Honestly, I don't think it's 11 points, but I don't see it. I don't know.
Just again, guys, this is week 1. We don't have people inside these organizations or these teams giving us information. We're just putting together what we can from researching and reading, and this is what we felt like might be some decent plays.
Yeah, if I had to do a confidence meter, it would probably be reverse of what I said. So UTSA, Florida, and then Indiana, and you see the trend there. I'm taking the points a lot in these games. You're laying the points, but you're taking big time.
I laid the points in 2 and took the points in 1. Yeah, for me, obviously don't go crazy in week 1. Like don't bet the mortgage on any of these. But I think if you want to dabble a little bit, these are some plays.
And
you certainly could do so.
The first couple of weeks of the season, as much as the odds makers do. So if you really think you know what you're talking about, go ahead and make a play. But don't go crazy, like you said. As much as the odds makers do.
And I would just encourage people like it's a marathon. We say this all the time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't go crazy. Watch football over the weekend. Enjoy it. You can learn a lot of stuff from watching teams as well and kind of set yourself up for making some plays in the future. But you want to add something? Go ahead.
I was looking at the my app here, and there's a team that played last weekend that plays this weekend. I believe it's San Jose State. So they technically have 2 week 1 games.
Yeah.
Kind of bizarre.
So does Colorado State. Colorado State beat Oregon State last weekend. They play Colorado, actually, this week in a little rivalry game.
We didn't dig into that, but that is something to consider.
I think it's a 4.5-point spread or something, but
something
like that. So, guys, something that we advertised kind of in our first show was looking for a third brother here to join our podcast, and our inbox was actually flooded by one individual. He goes by Flad. He's flooding our inbox. He wanted us to, reach out to him and interview him. So we're actually going to get him. He's actually here. We're going to pause for a moment here. We're going to get him into the studio, and we're gonna see what this guy has to say. So we'll be right back. All right, guys. Ron is actually coming back with him right now. He just. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, oh my gosh! Wow.
Hey, nice to meet you,
Man, hello, Ron.
How's it going, Vlad?
Go ahead. It's exactly how I pictured it.
This is what we got going on here.
This is awesome.
So listen, man. You've been. Are you nervous?
Wow. Oh man, you have no clue.
Obnoxiously flooding our inbox.
Yeah,
Bold strategy.
Well, I've been a fan for 3 years since you guys started the podcast. Avid listener, not a big bet guy. Actually lost a little bit too much money doing that, but still an avid listener and just a real fan of the show. So
here, listen,
so
man.
excited.
We're just gonna kind of see what you got here, how you handle us, just kind of interviewing you on the spot, and we have a couple questions for you. We're just gonna go back and forth and kind of see how you react to it. So
Sure.
Here's my first question for you, and to be perfectly honest with you, it has nothing to do with gambling or football, and I just want to see how you react.
Okay.
Here's a scenario for you. Say you are shrunk down to the size of a nickel, and you're put into a blender that's about to start spinning. Explain to me how you would get out.
Okay, so the blender is about to be turned on.
Correct.
And
5 minutes.
How long do I have?
We'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't do anything. I would just kind of sit there. Hopefully, the blades are high enough where I can level out and lay underneath them, and wait till whatever that person is making is done. Dependent on what it is, I could drown, and if that's the way that I'm going to go, then so be it. But being shrunk down to the size of a nickel and being thrown into a blender, it's not bad amenities as far as size goes.
Is it safe to say that doesn't scare you?
No, it doesn't. I don't wish it upon anybody, but it doesn't scare me. I would accept it.
It's a great answer.
Question number 2, two-parter.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to be a part of this podcast, and how do you think you can help us out?
Oh, wow. I appreciate the question, Ron. I've always wanted to be in radio. Ever since I was a kid, my friends would always come up to me and say, like, wow, you got such a great radio voice, and are you going to go into radio later? And I just kind of always felt like it was my calling. Then I went through puberty, and still, had people come up to me on the street saying, like, oh, dude, are you in radio? And, so it was always my calling to kind of get there. I have good foresight, or at least I think I do. And I know that radio is on its deathbed, but podcasts have been just blowing up lately. And ever since I started listening to you guys, I was like, you know what? I think this is where I'm meant to be. So I guess that's part 1. And how can I help you guys? Well, quality control, the 4 C's, creatively create creative content, and just a will to win. So I think those 3 combined will definitely bring a lot of help to you guys.
Wow. We are definitely looking for some more creativity. So speaking of creativity here, I'd like to see how maybe creative you were when you were a young pup.
Okay.
Big thing growing up for us millennials here. What was your first AOL screen name?
Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate the question, Ray. First AOL screen name, so it only had a longevity of like 7 months. It was All-Star 7 US. That was it. So All-Star 7 was taken. AOL was kind enough to give me a suggestion, and they threw on US at the end of it. So I went with it. 7 months later, Allen Iverson won the MVP award, and I was like, this is it. So I switched it shortly after, and I tried to do AI the MVP 3, but AI the MVP was taken. So I went with AI the MVP 3. So it was AI DA MVP 3, and that one lasted me for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Was that 2000? Was that when they lost in the finals? To the
2001.
2001.
when they lost to the Lakers.
Yeah.
After he stepped over Tyronn Lue.
Ron,
Yeah,
a big
right
Lakers
after.
guy.
Great moment.
Throwing some salt in the wound.
Next question.
Yes,
Not
sir.
related to sports gambling. Another blender type question, if you will.
Sure.
If you were playing Russian roulette and had one bullet, I randomly spin the chamber and fired, but nothing was fired. Would you rather fire the gun, the next chamber, or would you respin?
Okay. So you spinned it. You spinned it and shot at me.
Nothing. No,
Okay.
at me.
Oh, you shot at yourself.
Yes. Nothing
Okay,
goes off.
now
I
you-
give you the gun.
And now I have the choice of either shooting
Again.
Yourself.
or
spinning
me
again.
shooting myself.
Right.
Yes.
Oh shoot.
So you either shoot yourself or you spin it again and shoot yourself.
Okay. Well.
1 out of 6 chance it lands on the same chamber.
Okay.
Right.
So what I would do, and I know it's a numbers game, but obviously your odds increase if you shoot after you spun, but I would still shoot because then it would be like
Not respin.
yes, because then it would be like you killing me instead of me killing me because you spun it.
Right. Okay.
So that would make me and my family feel a little bit better, rather than me spinning it and then killing myself. So it would be like you killing me.
Great answer.
That is a fucking great answer. Listen, I have a question for you here.
Sure.
Flad, would you say that you learn a little about a lot or a lot about a little?
Well, I appreciate the question, Ray. It depends. So if there's a lot and a little, then I'm not going to learn it. You know what I mean? Like if you're telling me to learn something, but there's a lot in it, then I probably won't take the time to learn it. But
Big honesty guy.
yeah. So basically, to answer your question, it's got to be like a little, and then I'll learn it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty. Listen,
Yeah.
Ron, I know we're thinking
I'm not
the same
lazy
thing.
though. I'm not lazy.
This is a no-brainer.
This is a no-brainer. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna say that we're gonna have you be on the show.
Wow.
Under the intern title.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Intern Flad.
Dude, anything. Wow.
And
Oh
hopefully
my
you can
gosh.
work your way up to
Yeah.
being a full-time contributor. Listen, here's what we're gonna do. We realize you're willing to learn, and we want to see what kind of stuff you can contribute. So we actually have a little homework assignment for you.
Okay.
I'm just going with this off the top of my head, and this seems like up your alley here. I want you to check out the captain of the Arizona State cheerleading team.
Consensus
Hottest
cheerleaders.
cheerleading team in the country.
Yeah.
I'd like you to provide us with some information on her next podcast.
Towson has hot cheerleaders. But yeah, okay. Arizona
Extra
State.
credit if you can find her Tinder profile.
Yes. We would like you to provide us with some information. We're not going to really give you any, specifics. We just kind of want to see what you come up with.
Okay.
Um,
No.
So, listen, man, we are more than thrilled to have you on and kind of take you under our wing,
This is
and we're
incredible.
excited to see your growth. So, again, we're excited that we could get you here, guys. Everyone, hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed our first ever interview on the show like that. And I know I speak for Ron when we say we're excited to have him on.
Glad to be
And
here, guys.
We hope you guys have a good first week. See you next week.